I'm very happy to be here and not at home in New York where I live, because I don't know if you heard, but New York City had an earthquake today, which, you know, would be terrifying if it wasn't already New York City. There's so much happening in New York all the time. It's fun to think about where everybody was during that earthquake, you know? There's a lot of crime in New York. Somebody was getting robbed during that earthquake. Somebody was in the middle of like, give me everything. Don't move! No. Some people were in their apartment. Apartment shakes. Buildings are so old and decrepit, they're like, I knew it was gonna collapse one day. I was just hoping I'd be at work when it did, but it's an odd thing, you know? Maybe somebody is visiting New York. They just got there, very excited. And you know that annoying type of, oh Lord, okay. Not talking about you. It just sounded like so much stuff. Like that, it's clearly more than one plate. Oh, but maybe somebody just got there and they're very excited. They're like, ooh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go get some street food. I'm gonna get an authentic New York hot dog. This is gonna be amazing. And then earthquake hits. And then they are covered in hot dog water. It'd honestly be the most New York experience they could have. Another thing, I think enough time has passed that I can talk about it without it being awkward. Like, one of the weirdest things to me about 2020 in general was, you know how there's bunker people? There are people that save up a bunch of money to build a bunker in different types. Some people build a bunker underground. Some people have a different location they're gonna go to if things hit the fan and everything. Some people have like a whole site that they've built and stuff. And we've always, for years, for decades, made fun of them, right? It's something that started in the Cold War because they were so sure that the Russians were gonna bomb us that they started to make bunkers, and it was a normal thing. Then, as those sort of fears started to disappear a little bit, it became less common. But then there were some people who were still like, guys, something's wrong. Some bad things could happen. So they made bunkers, but then they started making it with, you know, their personal wealth and everything. And we made fun of them all the time, you know? And then 2020 hits, global pandemic that affects everyone in every country. And almost all the bunker people were like, that shit ain't real. But you built in case the whole world. Can I go in the bunker? Oh, man. I've been thinking a lot about just the general power of marketing, of ads and everything. And I don't know about y'all, but I always feel like I'm smarter than ads. Like, I always feel like, that's ad. I can see it. That's product placement. You can't fool me. You're not going to get me. That's an ad. And I always feel like I'm better than advertising, like I'm above it all. But I do have a bunch of stuff that I don't use, that I don't really remember why I got it. You know? And I think it's something that we need to pay more attention to, just the power of marketing, how influential it is, you know? Like imagine, just imagine a world where you work at some sort of agency, right? An ad agency, whatever, some type of marketing agency. And not now, right? Let's go even further back to when people were paying even less attention to ads and they were served less of them every day, right? Let's say, you know, 70s, 80s maybe, and you're working at this agency. And you go in one day to work, just any regular day. And let's say you're like co-VP or something like that. You're high up there, right? And then you get into the building and everybody crying. You don't know why. People are walking out with those, those cardboard boxes specifically for when you're fired. Everybody got one. Shaking, walking about, running out and everything. And you're like, what happened? And no one's even answering you. As you pass by people, you're like, what happened? They're like, no. And then you get to your office. Maybe you share an office with somebody. And so you look at your partner and you're like, hey, what's everybody so upset about? What happened? Right? And then he's devastated. He's like, oh, it's horrible. One of our biggest accounts, top accounts, right? One of our top accounts, Kool-Aid, that some cult grabbed some Kool-Aid and they put a bunch of cyanide in it. They did like a mass thing. I don't know, the client is freaking out, People may never buy the product again. We don't know what to do. This could be the end for us, because if they close, we close, right? And then you, being the brilliant marketing agent that you are, you stand there in the moment that this is happening. The day that the news has reached your office and you're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's lean into it. They drank the Kool-Aid. It's just that good. You think about it. Any other product, any other time frame, that product would be done. You know what I mean? Like if a bunch of people killed themselves with Snickers, I don't know if we would all be like, you're not you when you're hungry. You know what I mean? That's the power. To this day, even after a tragedy like that, to this day, people be at the barbecue like, pass me some of that red. That's some good stuff, And the thing about it is that on its own, it's not bad, right? On its own, you're just trying to sell something. You're just trying to make a buck. And maybe it's something that people will like. In an ideal world, all the marketing leads the people to what they want anyway, right? But it doesn't always work that way, because we found that the easiest way to make money is to make people feel like they don't have something, to make them feel less. So then if I'm less, maybe this thing will make me more and it'll make me enough, right? Because if we never feel like we're enough, then we always need a little something else, right? And that's how they make money. If you were always content all the time, no one would be able to sell anything to you, And so on its face, it's not bad what they're doing. But when they're all doing it at the same time, and it's most of what you see, when it's ads all the time being like, you're not this, you could be this, you could be better, right? It just starts to make you feel terrible. It starts to make you feel like you don't matter at all. And I hope one takeaway that you have from the show, not just laughing, I hope that you walk away from the show feeling like you matter as a person, right? Because you do. It's very important that you feel like you matter, that you have influence, because you do, right? A world where you think you don't matter terrifies me, because it means that all of the little pieces, all the interactions that you're supposed to be having with other people are going to be missed out on because you think you don't matter, right? Like we all sometimes feel like a little cog, like a little bolt, just in a big piece of machinery, right? Because the bigger picture is bigger than all of us. But you are so important. Even if you feel like you're that little bolt, you're very important. It's not the same without you. I hope you understand that. You're as important as every bolt on the door of a Boeing plane. Because maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe at the factory when they were building the plane, they didn't screw the bolt down all the way, so then the little bolt's like, do I even matter? If they don't care, why should I care? Then mid-flight, it's like, I give up. I don't care. And then the door flies open, you're like, oh! What the hell? Because you're the window seat. Oh. And now you got the CEO of Boeing, David Calhoun. It's important to say their names. No, it is. They always just get to move like these faceless people that don't do anything and then get to enjoy them. It's like, no, his name is David Calhoun, and we should all know it and say it and hopefully find him. Just to chat. You know? But no, he's stepping down, and I don't know. I don't like that. He's stepping down now, and I think that should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to go. You should have to stay until it's fixed. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy that you messed it up. And now you're leaving with a severance package, by the way. With a, articles call it a golden parachute. How ironic. You get to leave, but you messed the whole thing up. You know? And I know he's not fully alone, but he's the lead. You know, when you're the CEO, you're the captain. You know? And he gets to leave? That's crazy. And he gets to leave richer for messing it up. That's mind-blowing. He should have to stay until it's fixed. This should be the last job he's allowed to ever have. Until it's fixed. You know? And if it closes, then no more work for you. And by no more work, I don't mean you get to go off and enjoy. I mean, you will not make another dollar for the rest of your life. You need some stakes to be in the game, you know? Because I had a friend actually take up for the process. I had a friend be like, but Josh, now that he's stepping down, someone good could step in. Someone that cares, someone that could fix the thing. And I'm like, are you brand new? Like, what? In what world is that going to happen? That's so crazy. I told him the same thing I'm going to tell you now. Imagine you're on a flight, right? Middle row, middle seat. You're not having a good life. And you're on this flight, and during the flight, you feel this incredible turbulence. And I'm not talking about those air pockets where you drop a little bit. I'm talking about you're hearing noises you've never heard before. Just like terrifying stuff, all happening at one time. And it's not just like a little bump, bump, bump. You're swinging, you're slamming into things and everything. Those air masks drop down. You know, the ones that definitely don't work. I hate that part of the demonstration so much, by the way. They always put the thing on and everything, and then they're like, the mask may not inflate, but oxygen is still flowing. It's like, that sounds like something you'd say to a dead person. That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. The mask may not inflate at all, but I promise it's still working because you won't be able to tell anyone it didn't. Mind blow. No, I swear. You know? But let's say that's happening. You're in it. They're screaming, people crying, people praying, people tearing up and everything. And in the midst of all this turbulence, the cockpit door swings open. And the captain walks out. And the captain doesn't walk out to say, hey, everybody, we have it under control. Please don't panic, right? Captain doesn't come out there to say, look, the PA system broke. I just want to tell you myself, we're all going to make it. We're all going to be okay. I'm going to make sure we make a safe landing, right? The cockpit swings open and the captain comes out to say, I've decided to resign from my position as your captain. It's been an honor, but I can no longer uphold the standard of this plane, and so I will be leaving. Wearing a parachute, by the way. He's wearing a parachute while he's talking to you. He's wearing a parachute while he's talking to you, because I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I know I messed everything up, but I'll be okay, okay? And then he jumps out of the already open door. No, shouldn't be allowed. I don't know, whenever Tupac was murdered, it really was like Black Elvis. Like, we couldn't accept it. We were like, no, he went to Cuba because they was looking for him. Not likely, all right.
But we never did that with Biggie. You notice that? Tupac and Biggie got shot within months of each other. And Tupac were like, no, he gonna come back one day. And Biggie, we were like, yeah, that checks out. That's wild. I can't help but think it's because Biggie was heavy. I think deep down we know if it wasn't the bullets, it would have been butter. You know what I mean? Biggie was not long for this one. It was gonna be the streets or the kitchen. One of them was coming for Biggie. You know? I don't know if y'all remember this, but back in the day, before the pandemic, they were talking about putting Harriet Tubman on like the 20 or something. I don't even remember what bill it was. And it was like, everyone had an opinion immediately. There were people who thought it was great. There were people who didn't care, you know, a little bit, and then it turns out they cared. You know? And then there were people that were like, no, we can't have this happen. You know? And then Mnuchin said he'd block it, and he did, you know, so it never happened. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I need Harriet on the 20. What bothers me the most is how has Harriet Tubman not had her own sneaker yet? Like, that seems, you know what I mean? Think about it. Who is more deserving of a sneaker deal throughout all the history of America than Harriet Tubman? Come on. If you don't know who Harriet Tubman is, she was the LeBron of escaped slaves, okay? She was putting up numbers. She got a lot of other people to freedom. Buckets. That would have been a motherfucker to be a slave owner while Harriet was around. You come outside, ain't nobody there. You're like, the commercial writes itself. It does. You know, I just beat the Golden State Warriors in my new Adidas Maxes. And it's like, oh, I ran to freedom. How about that? How do you beat that shoe? You don't. I do wonder, and this is a genuine question. I'm being sincere. This isn't like, I'm not gonna make fun of you or anything. Does anyone here believe in aliens? Okay, so this is my thing. I believed in aliens so hard when I was little. Like when I was a little kid, I was like, it's just us in the whole universe? Come on, really? Just us, a whole universe. That seems wild, right? And then as I get older, it's becoming harder for me to believe in aliens. Because especially after everything up until 2023, it's hard to believe in aliens because Trump didn't mention it while he was president. Like that man told every secret. Anything they told him, he told us in an hour. Like, they would be in the room with this man and be like, you're not gonna tell anybody, right? And he's like, no. And then he leaves the room, he's like, folks, like that was, he could not keep a secret at all. He had the leakiest White House of all time. And he never mentioned aliens, so now I'm like, maybe not. I don't know what to tell you. It's a tough one. For the people who believe in aliens, once again, I'm being sincere, I wonder if aliens haven't made broad daylight obvious contact with us because they think we're boring or because they've seen how we treat each other. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was an alien above Earth looking down all this time, I'd be like, oof, they don't even like when you have different skin. And I got 3 dicks, so they gonna kill me immediately, just out of jealousy if nothing else. God damn, might as well stay up here where it's safe. Ooh. I feel this is a weird thing. I respect that people have to be like choosy when they're dating, and sometimes you have to make choices based off, like you get a little inkling of a thing and you call it a red flag, or because you're like, I know how it's gonna go after that. And sometimes people are overly harsh about that, but it's necessary, you know? Like I think about my friend. I went to a club with my buddy, and he had a full like almost rom-com experience. He saw this woman across the club, truly across the club. He was like, the light was just shining on her a little extra, you know. So then my man made his way over, and it was almost like the dance floor was parting as he was walking over to her. And then he gets up to her, he lays his thickest game on that he has. He's like, hey, how you doing? You know, mind if I buy you a drink or something? And she turns around and looks him up and down and goes, oh, no. Nah, that's not what we doing. And he tries one more time. He's like, why can't I buy you a drink? Get to know you. We might like each other. And she looks him up and down again, and she goes, your shoes. Which I know, that sounds super vapid. That's wild. It sounds really materialistic, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm on her side. Because when he looked down, both his shoes were untied. And it's like, yeah, bro, how did you? There's no better way to walk up to a woman and be like, you have to take care of me eventually, than to have both your shoes untied when you approach the conversation. How'd you even make it over without tripping? It's crazy. Dude, one shoe could happen to anybody. Both shoes hasn't happened since the 3rd grade, all right? If you approach a woman with both your shoes untied, you might as well walk up with a glass of milk in one hand and a cookie in the other. Talking about, you wanna be friends? Because that's what the fuck you look like with both your shoes untied. It's insane. I was watching a movie this week. Have you heard of Downfall? Anybody? Okay. It's a German movie, and it's about the last 10, 12 days of like Hitler and the Third Reich. It was like when they were losing the war, and it's from the account of the secretary that was in the bunker of just like, you know, Hitler was freaking out and everything. And it got me to thinking, like, how do you contend with the idea that there's a higher power while watching all of the horrible stuff that happened around the world in World War II? It's like the worst atrocities against humanity happen, but also there's supposed to be this higher power that's fully in control and everything. And people talk about if they could go back in time, they'd kill baby Hitler and stuff like that. You know? I'm like, all right, yeah. But if I was God, I think I would have just given Hitler a real high voice. Ain't nobody following him then. If that dude rock up and be like, listen to me. There's something happening in the fatherland that must be stopped. I don't even think you let that dude work fast food. You'd be like, nah, that voice too annoying. He's like, listen to me about the Jews. It's like, no, we caught you. I'll be vulnerable for a second. I thought I had it all figured out, you know. I was sexting. And sexting's a very precarious situation. You want to make sure you're sexting at the right time, you know? Because if it's like 8 o'clock, you still got other people texting you, you know? You don't want to accidentally send a text that's incoming to somebody because you opened the thing, you know what I mean? And it's also like, what if you're not that skilled? Like, what if I'm not good texting with just my left hand? Now you texting typos and stuff. It's knocking the sexy right out of your sexting. You know, it's like, I'm gonna fud your bass. It's like, nobody's into it now. You know? So I had an idea. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I didn't talk to anybody about it. I had never heard anybody doing this, but in my mind, it was the best thing to do. I was like, I'm just gonna speak to text. So that way, I don't gotta worry about the other hand and everything, and I can just like get in the zone and stuff. I don't have to worry about other people texting me and everything. And it went horribly wrong. because I wasn't at home. I was at my childhood home. So I was in my room, but it wasn't my house, you know? And it was, 9 o'clock or so, and we were sexted. Look, I'll read you the thing right now. This is what. Okay. All right. So she's like, "Oh, okay. And what's good? What would you do if you were here right now?" And then I was like, "Girl, I would tear those clothes off. And Mom, what are you doing in here?" Mom, I had the door closed. You can't just open the door. I was just coming to see if you wanted dinner. No, I'm okay. Mom, get out right now. Boy, how you gonna tell me to get out somewhere in my house? I'm sorry, Mom, please, can you please leave and close the door? You know we don't have closed doors in this house. Which is true, that's a very black family thing of you not closing the door in my house, what you up to in there? And I was like, Mama, please leave, please, please leave. And she was like, all right, what's the big deal? I was like, nothing, Mom, just please get out of here. So anyway, girl, I would say... All right, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night.
Make some noise for Josh Johnson!
Wow, thank you so much for having me. This is so cool. I am happy to spend the 4th of July with you. Maybe you're not aware of some of our customs on the 4th of July. One of them that sticks out is a hot dog eating contest. And I've been traveling the world, and a lot of people think that they know what a hot dog is. They even think that they have their own version of a hot dog. And as I've traveled the world, I can honestly say that no, you don't. Because you all here, I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but you have bratwurst. That's not hot dog at all. That's good. You have to understand, to make a hot dog, like bratwurst is beef or veal. It's a meat with herbs and spices in it, cooked well. A hot dog, especially in America, a hot dog is something that to make you first have to find. And when I say find, I mean putting together a proper hot dog in its casing and to serve is a lot like a witch's spell. You have to find meat that's first on the floor. It's very important this meat is on the floor. If the meat is not on the floor, you might not be making a hot dog. You have to find this meat that's on the floor. You have to couple it all together. You have to push it through this machine. And bratwurst, once again, beef, veal, you can only hold together a proper hot dog with hate and with hate and like a touch, like a dash, just a little bit of poverty, right? So you have some hate, you have, like you can get a side of anger in there too. And then you put it together into a hot dog, you wrap it up nicely so it looks like it might be edible. Because I don't know if you've had a hot dog. In order to prepare a hot dog, it's not like preparing a bratwurst. You have to boil a hot dog. And in order to boil the hot dog, it means you do have to ruin some water. You put the hot dog in the water, you boil it up, that cooks the hot dog. Cooks is a strong word. What are you cooking? It's demon meat. But you boil the hot dog up, so then you pull it out, that's cooked. You then put it in a bun to cover up that you're eating a hot dog. The water you have to dispose of like toxic waste. A lot of people will pour this down the sink. Don't do that. Don't get that mixed in with the regular. When I was little, I had a friend who his mom had a flower garden, and he'd make hot dogs after school, and then he'd pour the water in the hot dog garden, and all of the flowers died. Because that is runoff poison water. But yeah, you boil a hot dog, and then you eat it, and when you eat it, you're supposed to close your eyes and pretend you're chewing something else. Because this is going to be nasty. You can try to dress it up with mustard, ketchup, with mayo relish, with whatever manner of things people do. Some people will act really, really holier than thou about how they prepare their hot dog, as if a hot dog is not a mystery of meat mushed together. I say all that because on the 4th of July, there is a hot dog eating contest that takes place, and the winner this year, once again, is a man named Joey Chestnut. And this year, he ate 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes, which is the correct response. You know how I said that when you felt physically ill? That's how you're supposed to feel on the 4th of July after eating as many hot dogs as possible. I believe the record is 76 hot dogs. And I remember one time my buddy entered a hot dog eating contest, and he was super excited about it. And he had watched Kobayashi, he had watched Joey Chestnut, and he thought he could do it too. He was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Let's give it a try, right? And so he entered the hot dog eating contest, and it wasn't like the official Nathan's hot dog. It was just like a local one that was happening on 4th of July. And he entered the contest, sat down with the other contestants, and then over the course of 10 minutes, my friend ate 2. This man ate 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes. We were watching it like, when is he gonna kick into gear? Like, when is it? There are other people that are literally like swallowing hot dogs, like, as fast as possible. There was one dude that was this was incredible. He was screaming hot dogs down, right? He was like, oh! Meanwhile, our buddy, Hot dogs in 10 minutes. We went from cheering to booing. We started out supportive. Initially, we were like, yeah, get him, you can do it. And then, when it was clear he couldn't, we were like, stop, you wasting a hot dog. When he got done, we asked him, hey, what happened? We drove you here. You the one wanted to go way out the way to enter this contest to waste everybody's time. 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes is not a contest, that's a meal. What's wrong with you? And he was like, I panicked. What are you panicking about? He's like, I saw everybody else do it, and they were so fast. I was like, how are they not choking? And then I remembered I might choke. So then I started chewing extra. I was scared to choke. I was like, if you had at least choked, then 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes would be more reasonable. You got people over here fighting to get hot dogs now. He over here chewing responsibly. I do my best when I go anywhere to be as good of a guest as I can. You know, it means a lot to me to have me over here and for me to be your guest for a little while. I've been looking forward to this trip for a long time. And I'm always a little tense when I'm a guest, though. You know, even if it's just visiting a friend's house, you want to be a good guest. You don't want to leave and then have them be like, oh, never again. You know, like I get nervous to be seen as a bad guest. I don't want anything to go wrong. Like I've had to stay over, you know, for a couple nights at friends' houses, and they're like, "Oh, make yourself at home. What's mine is yours." I feel like that's a trap. You know, because you really make yourself at home and then you find out how much they mean it later. It's like, I'd rather just act like I shouldn't be in here at all. Quiet as a mouse, you know. I'll just act like I broke in and just try to affect as little as possible in the home. And they'll be like, what? He's such a good guest. We didn't even know he was here. One time I got so stressed out about being a guest at my friend's house while they were out of town that I just never went. And they were like, Josh, our apartment looks amazing. Did you do all this cleaning before you left? I was like, yep, you know it. Wanted to leave it better than I found it, you know. Because even being the guest at a party, that's like a short-term guest. When you're just there for the party, you're just there, you know, a few hours, maybe half the day if it goes long. And I'm terrified to be a bad guest there. I just don't want to be remembered in a bad light. And there was this one time where I went to a friend's party, and I'm not great at parties to begin with. You know, I'm very much in the corner, or if I know one person at the party, that will be the person that I'm talking to the entire party. Like it will be a burden on them. Sometimes I see a friend that I know at a party and no one else, and I'm like, ooh, you about to have a bad time at this party. I hate that for you. I'm very sorry. but it's either talk to you or talk to a stranger, and come on. And so, I was at this party, and my friend who actually invited me to the party was late. We were supposed to meet up together, and I misunderstood the text message. I thought they were already in there. So I knock on the door, I meet the host, I tell him, oh, I'm friends with, and then he lets me in, which is a huge mistake. Because now I'm just sort of standing awkwardly while other people have a great time. And so I was like, you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? This is the fail-safe. Every time you need a break from social interaction, or you just need to get your bearings together because you're in a public place and you're sort of freaking out, you go to the bathroom. The bathroom is the safe haven, right? And so I walk to the bathroom, I close the door behind me, and it's a little dim in the bathroom, but I use the bathroom, right? Other reason to go. And as I'm stepping away from the toilet, I hear this little crunch, like under my feet, and I look at it, and it's all of this glass under my feet, and it looks like the actual light bulb either popped or broke or something, and then now I've stepped in it, and as I really start to look around the bathroom, I realized that it is an absolute disaster in there. It is horrifically bad. So the bathroom mirror is smashed. I didn't notice it at first when I walked in, and the glass is in the sink, and there's a little bit of blood in the sink, right? And so I'm standing there, and I look over at the tub, and the shower curtain is pulled back, and there's a fur coat in the tub. And I'm like, all these things are too much for one thing. You know what I mean? Like this would be a shutting the bathroom down for a short period of time at the party if just one of them happened, and all of them are happening right now. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I flush. That's as much as I can clean up right now. And then I'm a bit panicked, so I get ready to just get out of the bathroom, because if I can get out scot-free, if no one sees me come out of the bathroom, someone else can address this thing, because I don't know anyone here. My only friend is late, and the host has just seen me once. So I get ready to, I don't even, admittedly, this is gross, sorry, but I wasn't even gonna wash my hands, because I was like, there's a whole bunch of blood in there anyway. They'd be dirtier than when they were unwashed. And so I get ready to pull on the doorknob, and I hear a knock. And I can't open the door. There's no way I could open the door and be like, all yours. You know? It's crazy in there. And so I hear the knock, and I think to myself, oh no. There's no way. First of all, if you need to go to the bathroom, the last thing you want is for someone to open the door and be like, all right, before you get in there, I just want you to know none of this is my fault, okay? Before you walk in with judgment, just know anything can happen to anybody at any point. Like, if you had been a little quicker with your feet, this would have been you, okay? I don't know what to do as I'm just standing there. And I'm admittedly standing there for like way too long. Like, and I hear a knock again. And I'm like, all right, I gotta do something. I gotta buy myself some time. And so I just say, 1 second. That's bought me 1 second. I have to use it wisely. And in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, I could try to clean up. I'm over here in my head freaking out because this is my worst nightmare. I'm gonna look like a terrible guest. I'm at a party where I don't know anybody, and I'm gonna look like I destroyed this bathroom. And so I'm Googling all types of stuff. I'm over here Googling, does glass flush? Like, does glass flush? How fast can you get blood out of the sink? If you were to look at my Google search history on this night, it would look like I definitely killed someone. Or at least a small animal. Because I was also Googling, like, does fur disintegrate? Like, and so, I just spent another minute and a half sweating and freaking out. And then I hear a knock. But this knock is like thicker. It's just like strong. It's clearly a different knock. It's clearly a different person. And that person is like, hey, come on, people waiting. I'm like, people? People are waiting. Okay, all right. People implies more than one person, which does imply, plural. And plural could just be two. It could just be the initial guy that knocked and is very patient, or maybe left. Who knows? Maybe he had to use the bathroom so bad that he left the party completely. But this person is adamant. Hey, I got to get in there, right? And he said, people are waiting. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, 2 people are waiting. And then he yells out, you got a line out here. What's happening in there? And I looked down at my phone, and I had been in the bathroom for like 15 minutes. Like I had let this go way too far. And so I froze. I didn't know what to do at all. It's like your absolute worst nightmare as a person that's like gets weird in like social interactions, to actually have this weird thing happen to you is like, I think maybe this is hell. I think maybe I've died. And so I'm pacing back and forth in the bathroom, which is only breaking more light bulb glass. And I finally look out of the little window, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to leave. Like I'm gonna have to jump out of the window. And in my like panic, I forgot that we were on the first floor. So it wasn't like a big jump or anything, but I did have to climb out of a window that wasn't man-sized. Luckily, neither am I. I was squeezing my hips at like an angle, like I put my hips like diagonal to the edges of the window to get as much space as possible, and I wiggled out. I fell out of the window, and I tried as much as I could to like pull the window back up from outside so that people wouldn't be like, oh, whoever it was went out the window. And then I was like, what do I do though? What if someone saw me go in, remembers me perfectly even though they don't know me, and could point me out, you know, because I wear the same thing every day. And so I'm like, the only option I have is to go back in. Is to go back in and join the line for the bathroom. And so I walk around the house and I'm thinking to myself, okay, all I gotta do is watch out for the host. His host was greeting me when I first walked in. As long as the host has like got to that point in the party where they're not greeting everybody and they're not answering the door every time, I should be good. And so I wait, some other people were arriving and they knock on the door. Someone else opens the door. I'm like, this is my chance. I sneak in behind those two other people and I immediately walk to the line for the bathroom. And luckily, my buddy who was late was in the back of the line, and he's like, can you just believe this? No, I do my best to be like a good house guest, you know, and especially when I travel, because when I travel, I have to do it as an American. I have to travel as an American now. You know? And it's like, I'm traveling more than I ever have in my life, experiencing new places for the first time. But one thing that I will say is, okay, there used to be a time where you would travel when you were from the U.S. You would go to other places and you would say that you were from the U.S. and people, there was a shine to it. There genuinely was like this like magnificent shine around you and your passport. People had questions for you. You know, you would say you were from the U.S. and they'd be like, oh, blue jeans. Wow. And then over time, the shine started to wear off a little bit, you know, like the way that we were perceived on the world stage started to change, and you would tell people that you were from the U.S. and they'd be like, oh yes, yeah, Beyonce. And now, you travel the world, and look, people ask me. I don't go around telling everyone my business all the time. People ask me, hell, where are you from? And I go, oh, it's... you know, it's American. And they're like, what? What? I didn't hear that. Oh, you know, it's United States. What? I'm American. I'm from the U.S. From America. And I've traveled in these past 2 weeks to Paris, Dublin, Brussels, Antwerp, now here, and there is a similarity. This happened more in Brussels and Antwerp than anywhere else, but it has also happened here where people will ask me where I'm visiting from, and then I will tell them. And there's a look and a noise you make that's genuinely offensive. Like it is. Once again, you asked me. I didn't say anything. I walk into the shop. Y'all are the ones, you know, asking questions and stuff. And then I say that I'm from the U.S. I'm visiting from America. And then you go, oh. You get the face or you get the noise. You don't get both. Oh. I grew up in Louisiana, right? And when I was, sure. And when I was in Louisiana, I have friends who live in all different parts of the state, and one of my friends, he actually lives he's in like a rural area. He's in some swamp area near the bayou and everything. There's a bunch of things floating in the water, a bunch of predators out there. He does his hunting. He comes back home. That's mainly how he sustains himself and everything. And there was one time he was having a barbecue. A bunch of friends came over, and one of his buddies, his buddy Spence, came over and was having a cigarette off by himself. He walked off away from the barbecue to have his cigarette, and then sometime later, he comes back over, and in the back door, the way that a lot of the houses are built in Louisiana is you have your door and you have your screen door, and the screen door can keep out the bugs while also letting air flow into the home and everything. And so he pops his head near the screen door, and his head only, and Spence leans in and he says, "Hey, can you call an ambulance?" And our friend is like, "What? Why?" If anyone ever asks you to call an ambulance, just do it right away. I'm sure that they have a good reason. I'm sure they're not just getting you to do it for fun because they want to hear the siren. I think that they probably need some help. And so he's like, if you could just call him, that'd be great. Can you please just call him? And he's being very calm. And so our friend walks up and pokes his head out of the screen door, and he sees that Spence, though calm, is standing there, and there is a baby alligator around his foot. And that's the way you look at me when I tell you that I'm from the U.S. Now, coming here at a time where tourism in the U.S. is way down. Yeah, people aren't coming to visit as often. It's like if people used to love to come visit all the time, and then something happened. It'd be like if you went over to your friend's house all the time growing up, and then one day you stopped going, and your friend was like, "Why? Why wouldn't you just come over like you used to? Come hang out." And you're like, "Oh, well, last time I was there, your dad threw a plate at my head, so I think I'm good coming over for a while." And so tourism is down in the U.S. People are choosing other places to go, and one of the main places that they're choosing to come is to Europe. Is all these places, some people will come to Berlin. A lot of it is happening in Spain with Barcelona and Madrid, in Italy, in Paris as well. And it's getting to the point where there's so much tourism, people are actually calling it over tourism. And this is happening at the same time as massive heat waves, wild heat waves, some of which we've never seen before. It's never been as hot as it is now. It's very hot. Luckily, not here today. But this week you had, one of your hottest days on record. I can't even imagine what that must have been like, because you all are fit people. You get on bikes to go you have to understand, my frame of reference is the U.S. So the fact that you're even walking next to a bike is leaps and bounds. I can't imagine trying to ride a bike in that heat, or running. Some of you run. And so that's wild that this level of like over tourism is happening at the same time as this heat wave. And there are people in Paris, there are people in Spain and Italy that have had enough. They're losing it over this. You know, they're protesting the tourists. They're over here being like, stop it. Stop coming here right now. Talk amongst yourselves and spread it out throughout the year or something. But this is too much. You know, you have places like, I could be wrong about these numbers, but I think in Barcelona you have like 1.6 million people living there, but like 26 million people visit throughout the year. That's wild. I understand that if you live in Barcelona and you're trying to ride your bike, eventually you're like, get out of the way! No. And then if you live in Barcelona, you're tired of all these tours everywhere all the time, and you start freaking out. You might get a reputation for being a little bit rude to tourists, and then you'll be New York. Oh. But people are doing the best they can to protest. There's been all these different types. People get creative and stuff. There's one where they were shooting tourists with water guns throughout the day, you know? Get out of here, ah! You know, like when a dog tries to pee on the carpet, you know what I mean? You know? Although as far as protests go, you can tell that these are like good people doing the protesting, because that's what you came with, water guns. Water gun. I don't know. I'm coming from the U.S. where it would have just been guns. Like this. You can tell these are people who have a deep moral core, because you used water guns to protest tourists during a heat wave. They probably didn't even understand what was happening. You know what I mean? They were probably over here like, oh, the Spanish are so hospitable. They saw how hot we were. And then some strangers we didn't even know were like, cooling us off. You know? And I get the genuine frustration though, but this is the main problem, is that whether it's business or whether it's government, systems have a magnificent way of pitting us against each other. Like, there are people that are local that are upset because obviously with all this tourism, Airbnbs are shooting up. Airbnbs raise the price of living in the area, so then people are getting priced out of their homes. They're getting priced out of the areas that they grew up in. They have to find somewhere else to live, all for people who don't live here, who are just coming to peak, and then they head home. And that can be incredibly frustrating, but that's the people who are coming to visit didn't come up with a master plan. Airbnb and the government that allows Airbnb to run rampant are the people to blame. You should be taking, like, if you're gonna take anger out on anybody, it should be the local government and the Airbnb that allows it to run rampant. You should be using the water guns on the computers at this. You know, because I think that that's the main way that systems get to stay intact. They see this, Airbnb sees it, and local government sees it, and they're like, well, we get to rake in money while the people that live here blame somebody else. Why would we ever change our practices? You know? And I don't really know what the exact fix is. You know, I remember when Airbnb was like at your house. There was a time early in Airbnb's history where you were just renting a room in someone's house, and so they lived there, and then they collected the money from you staying with them, like a little mini hotel. But that was like easier because then they lived here, so they cared about the home, they cared about the community, and you got to get a taste of like local life. And you could even ask them, hey, is there anywhere I should go to eat? And they would tell you, this is where we're going to eat tonight. And sometimes you would actually have a meal with your host. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. and then like private equity and more money got involved, and so it ruined it. Because now an Airbnb is also like sometimes worse than a hotel, because they'll let the person who owns the Airbnb set the rules. So now you have someone setting these insane rules for the Airbnb. Like, you can't just check out. You can't just take your trash, put outside, and leave. There are all these rules. Like, you have to make sure to wash the cabinets, wash all the dishes and everything, wipe everything down, you know, give our dog a bath. Also, you don't get charged a cleaning fee that you end up getting charged anyway, because in the small print, it was like, pick up our kid from school. And you didn't see that part. So now you're spending all this money on Airbnb to just go somewhere nice like Italy. And then you get to Italy and everyone's mad at you for visiting Italy, but you're also mad because you're like, the rules in this Airbnb say I have to buy this house before I leave.